All righty. I'd like to call the Tuesday, July 19th, 2022 meeting of the City of Bloomington Board of Public Safety to order. Can I get a motion to approve the minutes from the Tuesday, June 21st, 2022 meeting?
Motion.
So moved by Natalia.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion?
Nope.
Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed? The motion carries. And I would like to certify the executive session that was just held on July 19th, 2022.
So moved.
I should have done that the other way around.
So moved.
Second.
Well, we don't need to vote on
We
this.
don't
That's
need
what
to
I
vote
thought.
on
I was
that,
like,
sorry. It's one of the,
back
that's
you up,
okay.
though.
We get extra credit. All right, Resolution 2022-01, can I get a motion to approve Resolution 2022-01, a resolution to posthumously promote Robert Lee Lavacek Jr. to the rank of captain?
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Do you have the resolution in front of you, anybody?
I can get a copy real quick.
Do you want us to read it?
I'd like it to be read.
Okay.
Yes. I think that would be appropriate.
I believe there's people in the waiting
Scott
room.
Odom, yeah. She's waiting there.
Do we have people in the waiting room that want to get into the meeting?
Yeah, I just let him in.
Thank you.
Oh, thank you. This is so
Whereas Robert Lee Lavacek Jr., Bob, was hired as a firefighter with the Bloomington Fire Department on the 23rd day of March 2003, and whereas Bob represented the City of Bloomington and the Bloomington Fire Department with integrity, dedication, and professionalism throughout his 19-plus years of service, and whereas Bob served as union president for the Bloomington Metropolitan International Association of Firefighters Local 586 for 11 years, and whereas Bob held the merited rank of sergeant and for the last 3 years was the logistics officer for the department, and whereas the position of logistics officer is equivalent in roles and responsibilities to that of a captain, and whereas Bob's performance of his duties and dedication to the job until his unexpected passing on July 5th, 2022, warrant recognition, and whereas Chief Jason Moore has recommended that the Board of Public Safety posthumously promote Bob to the rank of captain to honor his career-long dedication to the professional life and service of a firefighter with the Bloomington Fire Department, and whereas the Board of Public Safety finds that it is appropriate and fitting, lost my, appropriate and fitting to make this posthumous promotion to honor the memory, life, and service of Robert Lee Lavacek Jr. Now therefore be it resolved by the Board of Public Safety for the City of Bloomington, Monroe County, Indiana, that commencing forthwith, Robert Lee Lavacek Jr. shall be and is promoted to the rank of captain in the Bloomington Fire Department. So adopted by the Board of Public Safety at its meeting of July 19th, 2022. All right, we're going to start with Police Department business.
I'm sorry. Can we have a moment of silence for Bob in honor of Bob? Just a moment of silence. And then you can start whenever you want. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right, we'll go ahead and start with the monthly statistics
If you wanted to, there we go. So you can see the calls for service for the month of June were up. They've been up each month this year over last year's numbers. The next pie chart was nuisance calls. And that just the colors indicate the different types of nuisance calls that we had a lot of, over 53% of them were disturbance calls. Next. So this is major categories, which are the 3 areas that we report to NIBRs, which are crimes against property, crimes against society, crimes against persons. And those were about even with last year. One was slightly up, 2 of them slightly down. So next slide. This is the crimes against persons, the breakout. So we have aggravated assaults are usually the highest number, and simple assaults, those are the highest ones we get in the crimes against persons category. And you can see the numbers there from the last 2 months. Crimes against property would include burglaries, frauds, robberies, thefts, and those are the numbers for May and June of this year. So there's increases in some, decreases in some over the previous month. Crimes against society are drug offenses. Those are the bulk of those. And we stay busy with drug investigations. Next slide. So this is juvenile referrals. And those were down in 22 compared to 21. Next. Can't see what the category is at the top, but you can see the hate crimes at the bottom. Those are reported quarterly, and so we are in the middle of the reporting period. July through September is the current reporting period, and there were 0 for the last reporting period.
That's domestic violence.
Chief, the top one is domestic violence.
Okay, so that shows they were down this year as compared to last year, which would make sense since last year we were still dealing with a lot of COVID stuff and people were cooped up together. Next slide. So major cases, we've continued to have quite a few gun-related incidents, but they were down slightly, 28% in June versus the previous month. But we did have some more vandalism cases in those 2 districts, in District 1 and District 5. Reported training hours, we did a total of 387.25 hours of training for the month of June. The highlights were we sent 2 more instructors to the PERF, which is the Police Executive Research Forum. They're training on ICAT, which is Integrated Communications Assessment and Tactics, which is a de-escalation type training that is really good, and it's being taught throughout the country. We hired some new community service specialists, and we started the training for those new people. That's in there, and you can kind of see the monthly training report. The K9 had 14 hours of training, dive team did 7, CERT had 108, and our civil disturbance unit had 91 hours. Community engagement, we haven't we haven't done a whole lot of that in 2022. We just haven't had the personnel to do that. So this on the right is kind of a summary of the police social workers and what they have done. It looks like there were 383 contacts this month versus same time last year, which is an increase. You can see the community service specialists, the total calls for service that they responded to were 735, which the charts break down what those actual calls that they respond to. And those are our non-sworn people who respond to minor calls for service that the police department gets. It frees up an officer to do other things that might be more serious in nature. Next screen. Okay, we had no letters of appreciation this month. General business. Earlier today, you were sent a report on tasers. We are looking at purchasing and implementing a pilot program using tasers. I don't know if you've had an opportunity to review what was sent to you. I don't necessarily need to go over that. I know that there were some questions. I don't know if you've checked your email. You should have got a response to some of the questions that you asked McQuiba. Captain Oldham prepared a response to that. So I'm just kind of opening it up for questions and see kind of what the board might want to know about that.
I'll hold my questions since you responded, and then we can see what the other members are interested in hearing.
Yeah, and the plan is we're going to give you some time to digest that.
Okay.
And then
Yeah.
certainly you can reach out to me over the next month, and then we'll talk about it again at the August meeting.
Okay, so
I'd appreciate
So,
that.
yeah.
I didn't have time.
No, I get
Yeah.
that.
you prefer that we send the questions? that
It's up to
asked
you.
about?
Yeah, you can do that if you want, or you can call me and we can just talk that way too.
Anybody else feel, would you prefer that I hold questions, or I'm not, I have quite a few, but happy to ask those when we're all
You're
on the
fine.
same.
You don't have to ask our permission.
Okay.
No, go ahead.
Natalia might have some questions too, I don't know.
I mean, a lot of I think my concern, I think I'd sort of summarize it with four things, is that the first one is that there's an underlying sort of argument that, that we're using less lethal force, right? And so I'm a little bit concerned about what type of training we're going to put in place to help police officers determine whether they're using their taser, whether they're using their gun. I feel like it adds another element of decision making in the field, right? Which with both puts.
So we have to make those decisions currently every day because we don't have that less lethal option.
Right.
And so our current less lethal options that we have are a baton and pepper spray. And so this is just another less lethal option that the officers would have. So officers make those decisions and go through that kind of decision-making process in training frequently, because every time we go to, whenever we have training, we are always incorporating in that training decision-making on how to respond to different types of calls that they go on.
And but we've seen in other places that there have been issues where, in some very well-known cases where the person said, "I thought it was my taser," and then they shot the person, right? So I think as we get closer to thinking about that trial period, I'd be really interested in looking rather at the how we're going to supplement the training, how we're going to resource.
So
that.
perhaps maybe what I should do is invite you to some of our trainings so
Yes.
you can see what we do.
Yeah, I think that would
That
be
might be
useful.
beneficial for you
Yes, sir.
to help you make a decision.
I'll come this time. Yes, sir. So, and I think similarly, I think there's a lot of, and I know you looked at it with external experts. I'd be interested, I think maybe this is more a legal counsel question, but looking at the questions about civil liability and criminal liability as relates to people using tasers, and whether there's any evidence of, we don't really have a lot of data on the effects that tasers have had on people.
So tasers have been around for a number of years. There are all kinds of studies that have been done on tasers. The President Obama's 21st Century Policing Report calls, that's one of the recommendations, and that is one of two recommendations that we did not implement when we went through that report. And so there's wide acceptance in the policing profession on the use of tasers. It is a less lethal option. It is not a non-lethal option,
Right.
but we currently don't have that tool in our choice of less lethal options. And so Right now, we go to either pepper spray or baton, and not many of our officers carry batons because you're literally striking someone with a metal baton, which isn't, first, it's not the image that we want,
Right.
and it can be pretty dangerous. People can get hurt pretty severely with the use of baton.
As they can with
taser.
tasers, though, right? I mean,
Well, that's debatable. I don't know what data you've read, but there have been deaths using taser, but there's been a lot fewer injuries, which a lot of the reports show to suspects and to police officers.
compared to baton use.
Yes.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
And so obviously we don't have that option right now. So we go from pepper spray
Right.
or
Right.
baton
Right.
to firearm.
Right.
And so I'm trying to come up with a less lethal step in between that wide gap that we don't have currently. There's been concerns about how we would, the appropriate use of those. Our officers are all equipped with body cams. You can get tasers that have cameras built into them, but it is a widely accepted, less lethal option in policing today.
And you said that we do have data on fatalities associated with the use of tasers?
There have been studies that have been done on injuries and fatalities. Yes.
And then I think the last is just I don't know, this is not really a question, more a general concern of how it was phrased in the report, is this notion of, maybe it's just phrasing, right? But this notion of having a test period in the open with a lethal weapon, right?
With a less lethal weapon.
Right. But it is if all the same, like if we were to say, okay, great, don't go do that in Bloomington, like test it on each other, right? Like that would be a crazy thing for me to say.
Yes, that would be.
Exactly, because like this is a weapon, right? And so the way that it's been framed in the report is that we'll have a period where this is going to be where we're going to test this out, right? Which I think that from
I think that's just nomenclature that people use. I think what it is it's a defined period of how we
testing,
would,
right?
how that weapon
But I think from a
integrated.
public-facing perspective, as if we're interested in what the community is thinking about the use of force by our police officers and so on and so forth, I just think that the nomenclature does matter in that case, right? And being very specific about what data we're looking for in that 60-day test period, I think is really important for us to be clear about up front. So if we're doing it in a sandbox, what are the limitations of the sandbox? Who's going to be using it under what circumstances, et cetera?
So I have a question. So the 90-day period will start. When is the start of the trial of the pilot? And it's going to be communicated with the community, right?
I'm sorry, what was the last
When
part?
is is it going to?
We haven't determined when we would start it.
Okay.
We haven't determined that yet.
Okay. And I didn't know if Natalia had anything. We can't see her face anymore.
No, I'm
there she
just
is.
waiting. Yeah, I look forward to digesting this, and I saw Mr. Oldham's reply. I didn't get to read it because I've been following along with this, so I look forward to reaching out, about getting more information and stuff. So I have a quick question on it. So purchase and expenditures, is this something that I think you kind of touched on it, but would it be in the budget for next year, or is it something that could be piloted this year? Like what's that timeline again?
Our plan would be to pilot it this year. I'm pretty confident I can find the money in the budget to purchase the units.
Okay, so this wouldn't be something for city council also, this would just be if we approve, or do we approve it, or what's the?
No, it's just, this is something that I'm bringing to the board to get your opinion and feelings on.
Got it, okay, got it.
Any other?
I'm waiting for you. Any other questions?
Yeah, great, okay.
So, yeah, since, I mean, we were late in getting it to you. We've been meaning to do this for the last couple of meetings, and things have just happened where we couldn't do that. So, we wanted to get it to you today so you can start looking at it and thinking about it and formulating questions, and we'll talk
Appreciate
more
that.
about it next month, and I'll reach out to each of you over the next month.
I have one more non-taser related question though. On your community engagement, and this is my first meeting, so I'm new to all this. The DRO, like the homeless outreach and DRO housing meeting, I also received a map of the districts. So is that work confined to that downtown area for the DRO, or is there, do they kind of focus on if there's like maybe encampment in other areas, they also will assist over there too with
Well, the original intent when that unit was created was to focus on the downtown area, but the problem has expanded throughout the city. So they basically go wherever there might be a call within the city boundaries to respond to those types of calls.
And am I right that the downtown area is mostly BPD District 1? Is that mostly the downtown area?
Yes.
Any other questions, Natalia?
No more questions.
Great. Sorry, I can't see you, so I don't have any visual cue. All right, personnel issues.
Currently, we have 22 openings of sworn personnel. We have had several certified officers that have applied and are in various stages of our hiring process currently. I think a lot of that can be attributed to the raise that's coming next year and the other incentives that the city is offering for both certified and non-certified officers. I do anticipate having an open process for anyone who would like to apply. It'll probably be late this summer, still kind of restricted by academy availability. Unfortunately, if I were to hire someone today that was that had no police experience, I would say I probably could not get them into the academy until approximately March of next year. So there continues to be a huge backlog with academy spots, and when they do announce an open academy, it fills usually within 6 to 8 hours. So you have to have people ready to go to sign them up, because they have to have some things already in place. You can't just put placeholders in like we used to do. That's no longer allowed.
Is there anything happening behind the scenes to address that, to open up more training?
That would be a function of the Law Enforcement Training Board, and they have not, to my knowledge, they've not
They haven't
said
taken any
that they've,
steps. No.
yeah. I know that the state did, obviously, they gave, I forget how many millions of dollars to the academy for upgrades. And I don't know if part of the intent of that is to expand the ability to train more recruits at the same time. I can't answer that.
They're looking at an expansion of the academy facilities where the housing component would be expanded, but that's going to be still a couple years off.
Yeah, okay,
So they haven't even broken ground on it, so.
And how
okay.
many slots do we have? Like, how many officers do you need to fit, like?
22.
We have 22
There's
openings.
22 openings currently. We're full staffing for us is 105, so we currently are 22 short of that.
I'm sorry, how did you say we were doing again with the bonuses that, or the incentives that city council, or the, with the lateral transfers?
Yeah, I definitely think that that's helped in us getting more applicants and making us a little bit more attractive to officers as they look at different agencies that they can go to. This time it's kind of interesting. We've got several from out of state, which is not really normal for us. People that have ties to Southern Indiana that would like to get back into the area. So I'm continuing at various points in the hiring process with multiple applicants. I'll test 2 more and interview 2 more tomorrow. So working the best we can to try and get more staffing out on the street.
I know you had some key retirements also. So how are you feeling about where you're at right now? with everything, all things considered?
Well, we're not in a real good place. We're over, 25% of our force down. We're hopefully within the next couple of weeks, we will fill the deputy chief position. Then that will open up other, hopefully, positions where we have to fill, because if someone internally gets promoted up, that creates openings. So hopefully we will have people that are interested in being promoted. So we have had instances in the past where people didn't put in for promotion as well, so.
Wow.
So.
And I think there was two candidates last month. Have they joined the force yet, or?
Oh, no. They're still several, they're probably still 2 months out before they can start.
Wow.
The process is,
It's very lengthy.
it takes somewhere between 5 to 6 months to hire someone. So they just completed their medical and psychological evaluations, and I'm waiting to get the results from both of those.
Great.
Once those are back, then those get voted on and approved by the local pension board as well as the state board as far as whether or not they'll accept that candidate into our retirement. So we're probably at least, because once all that's done and I can actually reach out to them with a job offer, obviously it's appropriate to at least give them 2 weeks to their current employer. So we're probably at least a month and a half to 2 months out before either of those candidates would be able to start.
Thank you both so much.
Kip, can I ask that we move the ARV deployment up?
Sure.
And we had no deployments of that last month. And can I also verify that the certification of payroll for the police department was accurate?
Thank you.
It was accurate for us as well.
I see y'all matching.
Not that I don't want to spend all this time with you, but it looks like the fire department's business is lengthy. And I have somewhere I need to be at 7:30.
Take off. Yeah, he has someplace he needs to be.
So,
You might be a chief of firefighters today.
so
Solidarity. Solidarity.
he's on his own.
All right, we're going to move on to fire department business. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. So statistics. For call types, we're still seeing elevated compared to norms, but compared to 2021, in June there were 175 less calls, so that's actually a little breath of relief. You can see the yellow line, that was 2021. We are still elevated above our normal call volume, but not to the level we were last year. That does put us at 2,576 calls for the year. To put that in perspective for you, just in 2016, we only ran 3,800. So we're still way above normal, but not as bad as last year, which is good. Moving on. So this is for IU. You can see they're on par with their norm, almost exactly normal for them. They're actually a little lower than what they normally are. We have re-engaged. COVID kind of drove away some of our programming. We are fully engaged back with IU staff, both the Dean of Students, their emergency management folks, and we are planning to gear up for some very large scale events with them that have historically shown to decrease our call volume. So the 2 years that you see, the yellow and the blue lines that skyrocketed, those were without programs for students because of COVID. So where we're at is hopefully to be more along that green line of providing programming and preventing students from creating calls for us. Next. This has still not been updated. This was a lack of capacity. I mentioned that we had an assistant deputy chief position that was outlined for doing this extra metric. I've been told that Chief Dekoff will make their data analyst available to us. They've hired their two. Once they get their feet under them about police data, then we'll have a brief class, and then they will help you with our analysis of fire data, and then we will update all these metrics for the response time goals. We're really happy with the progress we started making on inspections. Our new inspector has been doing wonderful, has been exceeding all of our benchmarks for that person. It is also the first time we've been fully staffed in a very long time. You can see that we're starting to catch up. We still don't think we'll ever make 100% of that goal. So as that, knowing that we're just entering budget discussions, I feel it's appropriate to inform the board that while these are far from being approved, we have asked for another deputy fire marshal position next year. That person not only helping with the inspections, but focusing on the false alarms that have also been skyrocketing. The thought is we dealt with the more serious, the fires, which are actually, could kill someone, and now we need to focus on the things that are keeping us from being available for those fires. So that is in our thought process of expanding capacity, hopefully next year.
You mentioned last meeting about self-inspection. You're trying to equip businesses to do their own. Can you talk a little bit more about that program?
Yeah, there's a lot of businesses where it's very simple, where we could say, is your exit light working? Can you check the tag on your extinguisher? Send us a picture of that. That would then reduce not only the inspector having to go out, our carbon footprint, not having to drive to these locations. So this is really in line with like what HAND does. HAND has a program that if you get a positive inspection, they extend how long until they come out. Or by state statute, I should be in every business every year. Some way, shape, or form, that's by statute. We have not met that by capacity. So by doing the self-inspection, taking off the lower hazard areas, that would leave us more available for the places where we historically find fires, restaurants, industrial areas, things like that. So this is a dual approach to try to meet the statute of our requirement. It's also looking at educating people, because a vast majority of our business owners just don't know. So if they knew, oh, well, that needs to be inspected every year, that needs to be this, that's also the educational component of this self-inspection that we're looking to elaborate on, to build a more resilient community that understands our job and what we're trying to do for them.
Have you already rolled that out?
No, well, we have not.
Okay.
We are juggling a lot of things right now.
Okay.
And I don't know how we're going to get it done this year. It is a budgetary goal for next year. It was a budgetary goal this year, but I'm just trying to get our inspection division put back together.
Okay.
And fully functional post-COVID.
And the flood, all the things.
The flood, the stations, the locations, everything that we're dealing with, it's just not feasible to throw on one more new project at this point. But I also will let you know that we're replacing our entire records management system. That's not a small feat either. So we've had our records management system nearly 20 years. Some of these self-inspections, some of those may be built into our new platform. So we are pursuing all goals, but this one is not at the tipping point of, I can tell you I'm actively working on it. It's not on my desk today. It is something that I've got staff working on, and we are building a plan to implement this in the future. All right, training, we're above the red line, well above. So for the month of June, 3,797 hours. I will get the color coding fixed. The only time it was ever supposed to be a different color is when we were below the goal. I also want the board, again, we've got new members,
Those are important things.
to be aware, it is, that this goal is set on us being 100% staffed. So the fact that we're above the line when we are short-staffed, that means everyone's doing more than what is actually required. So, our actual goal is that each firefighter gets X number of hours of training. For this high level, we just track it in a big number. That number should be above that red line. So knowing that we're above the red line and we're short-staffed, that is very good for our department. That means everyone is pulling their weight and doing their training and staying on top of being proficient, so we're available to the community to be the best we can be. Next. One more. We do have one. So we basically, we get called a lot to help people. I don't know if you saw several months ago, there was an article about our firefighters doing lift assists. So knowing that there is a shortage of emergency medical resources, just not in our county, statewide. So something that was mentioned, the difficulty of the test and everything else. There is a shortage of emergency medical technicians and paramedics. We elected to pick up this non-emergent type call because we were starting to see delays in ambulances for real emergencies. So by us picking up this, which doesn't equate to a huge load on us, there are ambulances more available, but this is one of those people that, we helped them out, and they were very thankful for that. Next. So We had Neville Vaughn. He represents us a lot, but we do a lot of things with the Boys and Girls Club. I believe this particular one was the setup and the takedown. And then we also, give them gifts for auction. So we can't monetarily give things, but we do things like birthday parties at the fire station. They put a monetary value on it and then auction it off, things like that. It's been very, very popular with a lot of people, but that's a thank you from the Boys and Girls Club. Let's see here. This one, this is a little harder. I believe this is another one of we helped out with the child's birthday party and helped with their silent auction. So it's just that season. A lot of the nonprofits and not-for-profits, they come to us and we auction off X number of these certificates. So it's not just everybody, but if the board's aware, if anybody wanted to use a public space, we'd allow them. So, but it is something that's nice for people that are willing to spend money to have the certificate and come to our station and meet the firefighters, and they bring their own cake. We don't do cake, we don't do pizza. They bring their own stuff, but they get to hang out with the firefighters, see the trucks, and have it at our station. And I guess we do provide cleanup service, right?
We sure do.
Yes,
Yeah.
we do.
I had my son's birthday party there when he was 7.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
come to church
he
too.
said.
Yep,
Y'all were at City Church a couple of months ago.
yep. All right, next. So that is it for statistics. If there's any questions before we move on to general business. Okay.
So general business, so we, as you all are aware of, we did have a certified hiring process. So we are hoping to, and I'm going to go into that in just in a minute, hope to fill some of these positions, these firefighter positions, with certified firefighters going into later in this summer or the fall. The EMS Commission, I did meet with them in June, and they did approve license for us at the Bloomington Fire Department to move forward with our mobile integrated healthcare workers, known as our community care coordinators. So we'll be serving the community in another capacity, hopefully very soon, once we get those positions filled. And
What qualifications does the community?
So that is an emergency medical technician minimum, but a paramedic was preferred.
Okay.
So actually, since we've got new board members, it wouldn't hurt just to briefly touch on what this program is. There are a lot of calls that both ourselves and the police go on that do not require a sworn firefighter or police officer. So the community care coordinator is a civilian position. We are focusing on honestly, to start with, the top 10 worst users of 911, which equate to about 300 of our calls a year. We're also looking at medication management. So there's a lot of people we go to that if they had just properly managed their medication for diabetes, other things, they would not be unconscious on a sidewalk in a park, where someone would call 911. Beyond that, there are other things that this program can do. Mental health screenings. You can also get into immunizations, which is why the paramedic is important. If you'll remember, I think I reported a long time ago during the pandemic that the governor's executive order allowed EMTs to provide immunizations. That executive order is ended, therefore we're not allowed to anymore. But there is a lot of benefit towards us starting to integrate the mobile integrated healthcare with the entire healthcare system. So we are doing the before and after 911 with these positions. And it is twofold: one, to improve patient outcome and the service to the community, but it's also to reduce some of the burden on the sworn firefighters that go to some of these people several times a day, or at least several times a week, dealing with things that are not necessarily 911 related. So we do have 9 applications in for those 2 open positions. And again, it's not approved, and I don't want to try to put any pressure, but awareness of next year, we've asked for 2 additional community care coordinators next year. That was part of the presentation for that new ED lit, the economic development lit, is that it would fund more non-sworn positions for police and fire.
Lit?
The local income tax,
Oh,
sorry.
yeah.
Yep. Economic development, local income tax. And that it would be, not only do we not have the program up and running yet, but thinking about next year is to make sure that we not only have it, but that it is up and running 7 days a week. Because in our world, it's 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. It's not just 9 to 5. The other thing that he did not mention is by going through the licensing process, which did not exist 2 years ago when we started this concept, we may also qualify for multi-millions of dollars worth of grants in this community to help bring this program to full productivity. So it was a lot of work. He actually had to go to the commission, testify. So it, again, a lot of thanks to Chief Washell, who picked up that project and ran with it. And we do have the certificate in hand, which means we're allowed to.
Yeah, we're real excited, obviously, as you can tell. Expenditures, we don't have any as of now, but there are several upcoming with multiple vehicles that we ordered in July of last year, so a year ago.
In the pipeline.
And in August, and so we have 3 or 4 vehicles and a couple all-terrain vehicles that we're looking forward to being able to utilize, obviously with these positions coming up as well. So personnel, we are down currently 9 firefighters. That includes 6 firefighters, 1 chauffeur, so they're in charge of the truck or the engine and pump water and that sort of thing. 1 captain and 1 logistics officer, Bob Lebisic, who just recently passed. The end of this month, we'll be down an additional 5 positions, and that is 1 captain, 1 chauffeur, and then the 2 community care coordinators, which we hope to get up and running. And then, as Chief Moore mentioned, also the Assistant Deputy Chief of Administration that we hope to help us out as well. So we hope that certified hiring process, and we're confident that it will help to backfill a lot of the firefighter positions, and we'll have to do internal promotions from within to move those open positions that are higher up the chain. And we have 0 on light duty, which is great. Don't always get to
I
say
think that's
that.
the first time I've heard that in a lot of years.
So, and that's all that I have.
All righty. 2022 hiring list. Can I get a motion to approve the 2022 hiring list?
So, second.
I have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The motion carries.
Was Natalia on mute?
No, I said I
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. All right. Disciplinary action for Dion Walton. Can I get a motion continuing firefighter Dion Walton's suspension without pay pending the outcome of his final exam attempt under the following conditions? First, that if firefighter Walton passes his final exam attempt, then this suspension shall immediately terminate and firefighter Walton shall be immediately reinstated to full duty status. Second, that if firefighter Walton fails his final exam attempt, then firefighter Walton's employment with the Bloomington Fire Department shall terminate on August 1st, 2022, or upon the department receiving notice of a failed test, whichever shall first occur.
So moved.
Should I have asked for it first?
No.
Do you know how to take a roll call?
Yes?
Yes, great. So with the next several, go ahead.
Okay.
All right.
All right, we're going to take a roll call vote.
Did we get a second on the motion?
Oh, no, we don't have a second yet.
Did you call for the motion first?
The motion was asked
Moved.
for, and I think Itzhak said
Second.
yes.
Yeah. Is there any discussion?
I mean, I think just for the sake of the record and, you know, other people who are here, I mean, we had a long discussion about this, that we, you know, very much hope and expect that the person is going to pass the test, you know, and so, you know, everyone, you know, hopefully they'll take all the support that they've received and do it.
Dion, we wish you good luck.
Oh, you are Dion.
Yeah.
Okay, hey, come on now.
This is Robert.
We
This
didn't-
is firefighter Robert. He was in the same situation, so I'm happy that you have a mentor. Essentially, it happened. We were here before, and so we do wish you very much good luck. We
Yeah.
want you to pass. We want to celebrate
We
you.
expect you to pass more so.
Good luck. So good luck next week
Yeah.
with taking the test. It's on the 26th, right?
I have a schedule for next week.
The 26th. Okay.
Great.
Would it be appropriate for me to say something?
Sure.
Please.
I just want to echo the board's sentiment that we want you to pass. We hope you pass. We will offer you anything we can to help you pass because we want the board to not take action. So that is the intent, the purpose of everything that has been presented is to give you the opportunity, and I really want you to take it, and I want you to blow this test out of the water and get back on the truck.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Any other discussion? Okay, we're going to take a roll call vote.
Are you wanting me to do? I'm happy to.
Oh,
I'm happy to do
well.
You can call the names if you'd like
We're
to.
still
Okay.
Yeah.
McQueen?
Yes.
Isaac?
Yes.
Natalia?
No.
And I vote yes.
That motion carries
That motion carries
3-1.
3-1.
You have, or you have a question? And you can afterwards, like, we can open it up, because it seemed like he had a concerned look about the vote.
Who?
Did you have
About what?
do you have a concern about the vote? Did you have a question, clarity or anything, or are you good?
I'm good.
Okay.
I know this doesn't concern me, I'm just here for support, but what was the vote for?
That's a good question. Chris, can you explain it?
I can reread what the motion was if
Yeah.
you'd like.
It's a good question.
And the motion was for continuing firefighter Dion Walton's suspension without pay pending the outcome of his final exam attempt under the following conditions. First, that if firefighter Walton passes his final exam attempt, then this suspension shall immediately terminate and firefighter Walton shall be immediately reinstated to full duty status. Second, that if firefighter Walton fails his final exam attempt, then firefighter Walton's employment with the Bloomington Fire Department shall terminate on August 1st, 2022, or upon the department receiving notice of a failed test, whichever shall first occur. That was the motion. It was moved that way and seconded and voted 3-1.
So it's essentially
So it
the same
passed.
thing that happened to you.
Okay. Thank you.
Does that,
Yeah, that makes sense.
okay,
Yes, thank you.
you're welcome.
All righty. Third point, disciplinary action for Doug Dyer. Can I get a motion to suspend firefighter Dion,
It looks like we have.
Doug Dyer, without pay effective upon learning he
No.
failed? Do
No,
I-
that's not right.
Do I have an incorrect wording?
Yeah.
Okay.
This is a motion to terminate employment. So you'll want to get a motion to terminate the employment.
Okay.
You'll want to ask if you can get a motion to terminate the employment of Doug Dyer.
Okay. Can I get a motion to terminate the employment of Doug Dyer?
So moved.
Second.
Is that a second? Okay. I have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion?
You're muted, Nick. You're muted. Why?
Well, you're.
Natalia, are you?
No, I don't, I didn't really, we had a pretty robust discussion about, that, but I don't really have anything to add at this moment.
Okay.
This person is not here, are they? Okay.
Any other discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
This will also be taken by roll call, sorry, Kim.
Okay, all right. We're taking a roll call vote. McQueen?
Yes.
Isaac?
Yes.
Natalia?
Yes.
And I also vote yes. The motion carries. And then the last agenda item is notice of chief's discipline. But there's no discussion about that, correct, Chris?
Well, we would have to be very careful about what discussion. Usually it's just that the chief provides notice of the fact that discipline occurred against a
Okay.
member.
All right.
And this notice was also provided in the last meeting, one of the previous meetings as well. So it's just that the Brent Thompson has been disciplined, chief's disciplined, for 3 sustained allegations.
Okay. Petitions and communications. Do we have any members of the public who would like to speak? Limited to 3 minutes per person.
You're welcome to if you'd like.
I would like to speak. I wrote a little
Yes.
letter. that
Yeah.
I can tell the board. Dear board members, thank you for giving me myself the time to speak with you. I am Dion Walton, and I have been employed for the City of Bloomington Fire Department since May 17th of last year. Becoming a firefighter has been a lifelong dream for myself, but a challenging journey. You grow up seeing how heroic a firefighter job is. When everyone else is running out and running away, that's when our job starts. It was a dream come true and an honor when I received notification I had been chosen for the position. I apologize for missing June's hearing. I had scheduled my EMT exam that day with high hopes of passing the exam and putting this behind me. I am fully aware of the firefighter's requirements, and I have fully met all the standards except for last one, my EMT certification. I fully understand the requirements, and I am working diligently to pass the National Registry, so I have my last obstacle conquered. As you are all aware, I have been on city leave without pay since June because I have failed myself, my family, and this board because I have been unsuccessful in passing. I am one of the recruits from the academy class that had some bad moments and some heated memories. I was expecting to tell my family and friends that I was receiving good news, but due to the fact of some things that happened with my academy class, I honestly was not mentally prepared, as overwhelmed while I was in recruit school. The academy mentally got in my head. I wasn't sure if I ever wanted to continue being an employee, but if this is how the city and the administration treats people, I definitely want to continue being an employee. Every day I came in and I was constantly worried if it was going to be my last day on shift and I would be terminated at any time. Those thoughts got to me mentally. I've been knocked down and I've been humiliated, and now I'm unemployed. Once I reached shift, the Brotherhood found me and reached out and picked me up and helped me throughout the months with studying for my EMT. I'm here asking you for your help, and please take consideration to place me back on shift with an extension of probation with or without pay, so I can finish studying with the EMT tutor. Once I recently just failed, I got with the same EMT tutor that helped my fellow firefighter Robert pass. He's a paramedic teacher at the Bloomington Ivy Tech. But in the midst of me studying, it's kind of making the test extremely hard when you also got to worry about your financial issues also. But these are good men and women that are all a part of the fire department with me. After seeing the brotherhood and the fortunate death of firefighter Bob and seeing the love they have for each other, I still want to be a part of this department. And that's all I have to say, and thank you everyone for their time.
Thank you.
Thank you for sharing. We typically don't talk back after that, so just.
Yeah, I
It can be a little
Yeah.
I just
awkward.
wanted to.
We appreciate it.
You know, if I ain't
Yeah,
nothing
it can
else.
be awkward
Yeah.
after
Yeah.
people share. We typically can't say anything back.
Yeah, I understand.
All right. No other members of the public? Any
Anybody
other?
in the chat got anything? No. Okay.
No, okay. Do I have a motion to adjourn? Thank you.
Thank you.